Most people think World War I started because of just one assassination. But the truth is far more complex. A single gunshot in Sarajevo may have triggered the war, but the causes had been brewing for decades. The world in 1914 was a tense place. Europe was divided into powerful empires, each wary of the other, each building armies and alliances. Germany had risen as a new industrial power. It sought to expand its influence, dreaming of colonies, a stronger navy, and recognition as a world power. Britain, the greatest empire of the time, felt threatened. Its navy dominated the seas, and any challenge was seen as a threat to its survival. France still bore the scars of the Franco-Prussian War of 1871. It had lost territory and prestige, and revenge simmered quietly. Russia saw itself as the protector of the Slavic peoples. Serbia, in particular, had captured its attention as a small but defiant nation. Austria-Hungary was a fragile empire, stretched thin over many ethnicities. Nationalist movements within its borders threatened to tear it apart. The Ottoman Empire was in decline, struggling to maintain its territories. Italy and other smaller nations watched closely, ready to seize opportunities. This intricate web of ambitions meant that a local conflict could easily escalate. To make matters worse, secret alliances tied nations together. Germany promised support to Austria-Hungary. Russia promised to defend Serbia. France promised to defend Russia. Britain promised to protect Belgium. These alliances were meant to prevent war. Instead, they ensured that once a conflict started, it would engulf all of Europe. Militarism added another layer of danger. Countries glorified armies, paraded soldiers, and stockpiled massive quantities of weapons. Generals argued that war was inevitable. They convinced governments that a swift victory would strengthen national pride. Imperialism extended these rivalries beyond Europe. Colonies in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East became chess pieces in a game of global power. Nationalism inflamed tensions further. People believed in their nation's superiority, and compromise was often seen as betrayal. In the Balkans, nationalism was particularly volatile. Serbs dreamed of uniting all Slavic people, while Austria-Hungary feared losing territory and authority. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, visited Sarajevo. A group of young Serb nationalists planned an assassination. They wanted to strike a blow for Serbian independence. Gavrilo Princip fired the fatal shots. The Archduke and his wife were killed. The world was stunned. But Austria-Hungary saw the assassination as an opportunity to strike Serbia, not just a crime to punish. With Germany's backing, Austria-Hungary issued a harsh ultimatum. Serbia accepted most demands, but not all. Austria declared war. Russia mobilized to defend Serbia. Germany declared war on Russia. France joined to support Russia. Germany then invaded Belgium to strike France quickly. Britain, honoring its commitment to Belgium, entered the war. Within weeks, nearly every European power was at war. The assassination had been the spark, but the system itself created the conflagration. Ordinary people were swept into the storm. Millions of young men were sent to the front lines. Trains carried them with flowers and music, hoping for glory. Families waved goodbye, expecting them to return in weeks. But reality was brutal. The Western Front became a nightmare of mud, barbed wire, and relentless artillery. Soldiers lived in trenches filled with rats, lice, and disease. Artillery thundered day and night, shaking the ground like earthquakes. Machine guns mowed down waves of men. Gas attacks blinded and choked soldiers, leaving lifelong scars. Tanks, airplanes, and submarines changed the nature of warfare. Old strategies were obsolete, and new horrors emerged. Battles like the Somme and Verdun claimed hundreds of thousands of lives for minimal territorial gain. Entire villages were wiped out. Communities mourned en masse. The Eastern Front was equally devastating. Russia struggled against Germany and Austria-Hungary, suffering millions of casualties. Food shortages and civil unrest plagued Russian cities. In 1917, revolution toppled the Tsar. Russia withdrew from the war with a humiliating peace treaty. Meanwhile, colonial troops were sent to fight far from home. Indian, African, and Asian soldiers faced harsh conditions for empires that were not their own. The war was no longer European. It was global. Campaigns erupted in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. In 1917, the United States joined the war. German submarine warfare and the Zimmermann telegram pushed America into the conflict. American troops and resources gave the Allies fresh strength. Germany, blockaded and starving, was running out of time. In 1918, Germany launched a final offensive, hoping to break the Allies before American forces fully arrived. At first, they advanced, but Allied resistance held firm. By autumn, Germany and its allies were collapsing. Soldiers deserted, populations rioted, and governments fell. On November 11, 1918, the guns finally fell silent. The war's cost was staggering. Over 16 million people had died, and 20 million were wounded. Empires collapsed. Austria-Hungary split into multiple nations. The Ottoman Empire crumbled, leaving chaos in the Middle East. Germany was humiliated, and the Kaiser fled. Russia fell into civil war. The Treaty of Versailles redrew Europe's borders and imposed harsh reparations on Germany. Instead of securing peace, it planted seeds of resentment. 2 decades later, the world would descend into another, even more destructive war. So why did World War I really start? Not just because of one assassination, but because militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism had created a system primed for disaster. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand was the spark. The world itself was the powder keg. Millions paid the price for decisions made by a few powerful people. Ordinary men and women endured unimaginable suffering. Even today, historians debate whether the war was inevitable. Could diplomacy have prevented it? Or was Europe destined to fall into conflict? One thing is certain. The modern world was shaped by World War I. Technology, warfare, borders, and politics were all changed forever. The shadows of 1914-1918 still linger today. The lessons of ambition, pride, and fear remain vital. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe for more world history explained simply.